Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the special committee of the whole meeting for Wednesday, November the 19th, 2025. I'm going to call our meeting to order at 7 p.m. Thank you for joining us this evening. Council, I've got approval of the agenda. A motion that reads the special committee of the whole agenda for November the 19th be approved as presented. This is moved by Councillor Leroux, seconded by Councillor Vedavanker. Comments and questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Council, does anybody have a declaration of pecuniary interest tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on. Presentations, we have a few this evening, Council. Our first one is Community Reach. I believe Cindy is presenting. Thank you. Welcome for being with us. Council had some questions and we welcome you to present on behalf of the organization. Welcome.
Oh, this is on already. Perfect. Well, thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Council and staff, for having us here. I will try to be quick. I know you have a big agenda and it's late. So we appreciate the opportunity. I know you had some questions, and Director Robillard outlined your request for the additional information in your email. So we'll address the statistics specific to Penetanguishene, what the funds are being used for, and why we've asked for an additional 10%. We also watched the November 19th meeting, and I know there were some comments about our finances and the Town of Midland RFP, but I just wanted to clarify, we're not in dire straits, but there was a cautionary note about us not operating at a deficit. So this is important. So the board and I have had numerous discussions, and we're making sure that our organization is financially sustainable. So we've been meeting with other levels of government, engaging other community partners, applying for grants, developing a fundraising strategy. So we're feeling pretty good. It's going to be a lot of work, but we'll get there. And for several years, we didn't ask for a significant increase from the town, but I know both last year and then this year, we did ask for 10%, and this is in order to maintain our low fees and support the volume of rides that we do for the town of Penetanguishene. And then regarding the RFP, we know where that's going, and we did have a commitment from Mayor Gordon that he would honor our contract. So I know things change in our world, but for now we know that there's no changes that are imminent. If I could go on to the, that's perfect. Oh, I'm sorry, yes. So our mission nicely summarizes what we do, but perhaps if you'll give me a moment just to give some examples of how we impact the lives of Penetanguishene residents. So for example, we have a senior gentleman who uses us 3 times a week. So we take him to dialysis. And so I'm not sure if you're aware, but we charge $10 return to go from Penetanguishene to Midland, as opposed to a cab ride that may be 20 to 28. So you could imagine for somebody like that needs to have transportation 3 times a week, he might not be getting to treatment. It might not be accessible for him. We have another one of residents living with MS and cancer, and she uses Community Reach to stay connected. So she holds a part-time job, she gets to grocery shopping, she attends social activities, goes to her cancer treatments in Barrie, and we help her with that. And then lastly, I just wanted to share, this happened just last week. We had a driver going above and beyond as they typically do, and helped this passenger with her groceries and got her settled back inside. And when the driver was going to say goodbye, the woman like literally clung to her arm and said, begged her not to go because she was going to be the only person she was going to see that week. So we're providing rides, but we're also providing companionship. Next slide, please. So as you know, our TLC program serves everybody in North Simcoe that's experiencing barriers to transportation. So locally, we'll take North Simcoe residents to medical appointments, shopping, and social activities, but we also do quite a few out-of-town trips to specialist appointments in Barrie, Newmarket, Orillia, and Toronto. And we do this with an exceptional group of drivers, both paid and volunteer, many of whom are former first responders, nurses, and PSWs. And I just wanted to mention, I know we keep throwing around this term door-to-door service, but what it really means is we're taking the clients like literally from the door of their house and getting them into their destination. So this is very important for our clients all the time, but most especially during the winter months. Next slide, please. These are estimated 2025 statistics. As you can see, we're still quite busy. We serve clients of all ages, but you'll note that our seniors are primary riders. Medical rides are still the main reason for the trips, but I also want to note that we also include the adult day program participants under these medical rides. So we make sure that we prioritize these the same as any regular medical appointment, because it's absolutely critical that we are part of the solution to preventing caregiver burnout. And next slide, please. So these are the statistics specific to Penetanguishene. And for several years now, Penetanguishene residents have made up approximately 60% of our rides. So we weren't surprised about that. But when I was doing the statistics, and I don't know what to take from that, but I found it surprising that 47% were 80 plus. So you're doing something right here. Next slide, please. So this year we've been busy. We're really pleased to be part of the North Simcoe OHT Collaborative Council. So typically you wouldn't expect to see a transportation organization part of something like this, but we have some pretty great people around the table that recognize that a transportation service like ours is really part of the person's circle of care. So, you know, we're getting people to their doctor's appointments, giving them access to food and to the activities that prevent social isolation. And not being able to access any one of these things directly affects that person's health and may contribute to some preventable illnesses or perhaps hospital visits. We received some funding from HCF and the Heart of Georgian Bay Fund. So we have a little bit of money to do some free rides for people, anybody in North Simcoe that needed to get to a grocery store or to the food bank. And we were part of the transit review at the county, which you're all aware of. And I was happy to be part of that. And we were the only non-municipal transit organization that was included in these discussions. And then lastly, in August, we transitioned to a new ride booking platform called Blaze. This is the same one that's used by the county for their accessible transit. So this is to help us better manage our rides and to find some efficiencies. So we still take our rides over the phone, but it does have the capabilities in the future to use an app. Next slide, please. So why support? Transportation is part of Penetanguishene's age-friendly plan. In fact, transportation, as you well know, it's part of every conversation we have at every level when we talk about enabling seniors to thrive and to age in place. And whether you move to microtransit or you keep your regular fixed routes, we have many seniors and residents that they really need that extra support with the door-to-door service. So without us, a lot of the seniors are going to lose their access to all those important connections. We've been doing this for over 20 years. I think Kate might have been here that long. Kate's our chair, I'm sorry. We're very passionate about what we do. So none of us are here because it's just a job. It's important. We've all had, a lot of us have had our personal journeys with our loved ones. And for me, it was actually a personal connection with Community Reach because my dad used the service in his last couple of years. I don't have to talk to you about an aging population. We all know where we are and where we're going next year with the 2026 census. So more important than ever to keep supporting our seniors. And just lastly, without the support of municipalities like Penetanguishene and the other North Simcoe communities, the generosity of the local community and service clubs, we wouldn't be here to support seniors and residents with accessibility challenges. And I should note, we do not receive any regular provincial funding. I will keep working on that, but right now we're very, very grateful for everything that we get. Next slide, please. So we appreciate, very, very grateful, as I said, for the last year was 7,150 in 2025. We're asking your consideration of an increase of 10% or $715 in 2026 to support the volume of rides that we're doing for Penetanguishene residents. We'll continue to do our part and to find other sources of funding. We're always open to working with you if you want to work on ways we can better support your residents, and always happy to be part of a joint funding opportunity for residents or seniors. And I've been, I mentioned that to Mariah too. I've been working with her at the new senior center. So anyways, anything we can do to help, we're here. And last slide, it's just our gang. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. Council, any follow-up comments or questions? Councilor Mershaw.
Thank you very much for coming to present to us and for sharing some of the statistics. I was surprised to hear that 60% of ridership does come from Penetanguishene. And so certainly we're grateful that this service exists and is supporting our seniors and all members within the community. So thanks for your great work and for sharing that with us this evening.
Thank you, Councilor Mershaw. Any other members, any comments, questions? Thank you very much. We appreciate your attendance and being here tonight and sharing with us. And again, thank you for the work that you do. All right, Council, move on to our next presentation. Next presentation is regarding our guest house shelter. Floor is yours. And Cindy, you're right on. You're right on the 10 minutes, but I forgot to give the preamble, but you knew. But 10 minutes and the floor is yours. Welcome. Yep.
Good evening, and thank you, Mayor Rosslyn, for providing me with this opportunity to address the members of council. My name is Rosemary Sykes, and I'm the CEO of the Guest House Shelter. I began my journey with homelessness 20 years ago as a volunteer with the Out of the Cold program. At that time, an awareness of homelessness in our communities was just beginning to take shape. It was common for people to think homelessness wasn't a problem in Midland and surrounding areas. Here we are today, unable to hide from the painful truth. Poverty, mental illness, and drug addictions are all evident throughout our communities and affect each of us in some way. The guest house is open 365 days a year. We are able to provide shelter to 21 adults coming from all parts of North Simcoe. We are always full and often have a waiting list. We offer a safe place to sleep, 3 nutritious meals a day, and programs that encourage and support our guests in their journey towards health. Guests work closely with trained staff addressing their individual and unique needs. We are well aware of the negative impression some communities have of us. We are not the problem, we're part of the solution. Our guests have a 10:30 p.m. curfew. They are not responsible for the overnight illegal activities that might take place in our communities. Our guests take part in regular community cleanup of the waterfront and park areas. Some of our guests volunteer in the community. An example of this would be the recent renovation of Compassion Place in downtown Midland. Also this past summer, Ribfest took advantage of our guests' willingness to volunteer. Our guests also volunteer in assisting community members with yard cleanup and seasonal upgrades for their properties. When Penetang suffered that Main Street disaster, the building collapse, many people were left homeless, and the guest house shelter was there to do outreach to help these people find housing, keep them safe, and begin their lives over again. Some of our guests have been community college students with work placements at 2 of our long-term care homes, which also service your area. These students had no homes to call their own, so they were staying at the shelter while they finished their programs. They are working towards diplomas that will qualify them to be fully employed in our communities in much-needed positions. Some of our guests are employed earning a minimum wage and not able to find or afford housing. Citizens of Tiny and Tay townships, as well as Penetanguishene, are always welcome whenever there is need. The guest house partners with the Salvation Army Outreach Program, with Empower Simcoe Housing Workers, and now with Youth Haven Outreach. These organizations all rent office space from us and offer their own support to our local communities and indirectly to the shelter. We are aware that many downtown business people and neighbors assume that the obvious problems on the streets and in the neighborhoods are created by those who are staying at the shelter. I respectfully remind you that we shelter 21 people at any given time. We have recently been approved as a warming center. The warming center is now open from 7:30 p.m. to 7:30 a.m., 7 days a week, until April 30th of 2026. This means an additional 8 adults will be able to find refuge from the winter weather that's coming. There is a small area in front of the shelter at the parking lot entrance that is available for our guests to relax. We removed our smoking hut from this area to discourage illegal drug distribution and usage. Our guests know that they will be discharged from our program if they are found to be involved in illegal activity. We don't control or have authority over people who are not part of the guest house program, nor do we have authority over property that does not belong to us. Again, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening, to update you on the status of the guest house shelter, and I invite you to come for a tour of the guest house at any time. Please feel free to reach out to us. Lastly, I ask financial support from the council and community. It costs approximately $100 a day per guest to keep the shelter open. Although we operate with funding provided through the County of Simcoe, it is not sufficient. So please consider supporting us in your budget. Because we provide services to your community, I respectfully request that a contribution of $5,000 to the guest house shelter be included in your annual budget. These monies would be put towards the ongoing maintenance and building improvements. During 2025, we replaced the 2 external doors as well as the emergency fire exit door. We also completed our elevator project, and the shelter is now fully accessible to guests, volunteers, and community members. We already have a guest who is staying with us who is confined to a wheelchair. Before the elevator was working, then that person would have been on the street. Our next significant project will be the painting of the shelter exterior. This is in recognition of the respect we have for our communities, and our guests get to see that they are also respected. As a point of interest, I have made the same request to each of the municipalities to which we provide service. Again, thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you very much for being here in your presentation this evening. Council, comments or questions? I have a few. You mentioned you received funding from the County of Simcoe. I wonder if you can help us understand what that looks like. And I'm looking from the lens, from an accountability lens with the county. My concern with providing any funding is the County of Simcoe is a party to the guest house, and I would agree that the funding, the accountabilities is between you and the County of Simcoe. And I think us getting in the middle of that complicates that relationship. So I'm just wondering if you can help us understand a little bit about what that relationship looks like from an accountability standpoint, a reporting standpoint, and from the funding standpoint.
Contributes about 1/3 of our costs. The amount we pay in salaries is approximately the amount the county gives to us. It's not necessarily dollar for dollar, and certainly the money is not allocated to us that we have to spend it on staff. It goes, they look at our budget, they look at our costs of running the shelter, they look at the number of guests we are assisting, and they come up with what they feel is a fair budget. They expect us to raise funds for ourselves, to be somewhat sufficient. We are in the process of beginning a funding campaign where we have a new board member whose specialty is in fundraising, and he's coming aboard and is going to assist us in learning how to fundraise more effectively for ourselves. So that's a big plus, but it hasn't happened yet. The county's rates are about the same as they've been for many years. There hasn't been a significant increase in them, but the cost of living has certainly skyrocketed, as everybody knows. So while our bills go up a lot, the county assessment doesn't.
Thank you. You mentioned you've also recently been approved for warming center funding. Can you just help us understand what that is?
So the warming center, we can house 21 people. We have beds for 21 adults. We have been given permission to allow 8 other adults into the building to sleep overnight. But we do not have beds for them. We're not allotted beds for that many people. So the fire department has approved us and the county has agreed that we can bring 8 people in, but we can't give them beds. So they come in at any time between 7:30 at night and 7:30 in the morning. They come in, they'll be given a hot meal. They will be given dry clothes. They'll be given winter outerwear if they need it. They'll be given a pillow and a blanket, and they can, if they choose to, can cozy up anywhere they can find a spot in our dining room, because that's the room we have for them.
Okay, thank you. And just for clarity, the funding is from the county though?
Yes, for that it is. Yes, we got additional funding to cover the cost of staff for that.
Okay, thank you. My final question to you. So you have a contract then with the county. Is there anything in that contract that states the funding and the accountability flow between the county of Simcoe and the guest house, and not to go to lower tiers for funding, that relationship's between you and the upper tier?
It doesn't say anything in that contract that we are not allowed to go to lower tiers.
Okay, thank you. Council, any further comments or questions? Councilor Mershaw.
To the best of your knowledge, the funding that you receive is similar to any other shelter system within the county of Simcoe? And how many other shelters are there? Do you know just offhand? Yeah.
Can I get a
Just an estimate?
there?
I don't know about the other first. There's historically there's been Rosewood has got a half dozen beds for emergency beds for women in our community.
Mhm.
So that component's always been there, but there was never a men's shelter funded because we weren't legal. So we racked up a huge debt acquiring a building that was legal and to get funding. So in answer to your question, there is a shelter, a number of shelters in Barrie, and then Lighthouse and Aurelia has always been funded. They have benefited a lot from the city, though. The city gave them the property for their new $14 million building. And the city of Aurelia continues to support them. Our model is Cambridge. Cambridge Shelter is the only.
So the question was, how many do we know?
Yeah.
If we're looking for more, like, I'll have you go to the podium, but
No, yeah.
okay.
Thank you. I think I just really wanted to ensure it was clear to our council that other shelters within the county of Simcoe receive the same funding as all other shelters receive the same funding that your shelter, with it, the shelter for our community is also receiving.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, but the question was just, I just wanted to ensure that you're not an anomaly in terms of what we're receiving from the county. There's a calculation and formula probably based on beds and whatnot, but my question was just to clarify that.
That's correct.
Great, thank you.
Now, most of the other shelters are much older than we are. They've been around a lot longer. They've had a much longer period of time to establish themselves in the community as well. So.
Okay. Council, any further comments or questions? Thank you very much for being with us this evening. All right, Council, we're going to move on to our next presentation. As you know, this was added on the agenda yesterday. We had a request by the Penetangishene Curling Club to come to our December council meeting. But knowing that tonight was budget, I asked the clerk if we could kindly get the Curling Club on tonight. So thank you for your indulgence to having this on this evening. Paul, I believe you're here to make your presentation. Welcome. And again, 10 minutes and the floor is yours. Welcome from being here.
I'd like to thank Mayor Rawson and Council for allowing me this opportunity. For those of you that don't know, the Penetangishene Curling Club is hosting the Under 18 Boys and Girls Provincial Championship from January 14th to the 18th, 2026. And we have an agreement with Curling Ontario that we have some commitments to them to provide. One of them is to provide a banquet for the participants, and it'll be on the Saturday night of the Wednesday to Sunday event. So kind of a closing dinner banquet. And we have a very engaged organizing committee that of volunteers that are working on organizing this event. And our goal was to try to get funding for the cost of the banquet, which we anticipate being approximately $3,500. Since we put in the request to the town to potentially provide funding, we have gotten good news from the county that they are going to chip in $2,000 towards the Simcoe County Tourism, I guess, if that's a specific department that is going to fund us for $2,000 for the event, which is very helpful. So that would kind of lowers my ask of the town of Penetang, being that that's the $3,500 is what we're kind of hoping to cover. This event's going to bring in 16 curling teams from around Ontario with coaches and family members that are going to be here from Wednesday until Sunday. Hopefully there'll be some good spin-off business to the local businesses. We've got a very engaged membership group of volunteers. We're at like 50 volunteers between mostly members, but a few community members and Rotary Club of Penetang have got some of their members that are interested in volunteering. So we're trying to provide the best possible experience to these young athletes while they're visiting our town. So the ask was that, and not the only ask was, but we were looking to get enough funding to cover off the banquet, which is the largest expense for the hosting of the event. That's basically all I've got. If anyone has any questions about the event or anything else to do with the event, I'll try to answer them.
Thank you, Paul. Just for clarity, you said the ask was 3,500 and the county came through with 2,000. So are you saying the ask is 1,500 or are you saying it's 3,500?
No, I'm saying the ask would the 1,500 now would cover our full hope. So yes, the ask would now be 1,500.
We love that.
Anything.
Hey, we love that.
Or anything that,
Councillor.
between.
Okay. Council, any other comments or questions? Councillor Garash.
Yes, thank you very much. I just wondered if, I know you mentioned there's an organizing committee, and so I would think, like all organizing committees, part of their portfolio would be to do fundraising to cover costs. So I'm just wondering if the committee's reached out to businesses and whatnot for sponsorships, and if there's a sponsorship program and tiered and whatnot. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, we don't have a formal tiered sponsorship program, but we have reached out to a number of businesses. What we are, for the most part, receiving from those asks is we're preparing gift bags for each one of the curlers. And that's seems to be what we're getting from our asks of the local businesses, stuff that we would put in these gift bags that the curlers are going to get, as opposed to, you know, checks. Although we did get, Penetang Rotary Club did provide us with a funding of $500 as well.
Councillor Rush?
Okay, thank you. So so you mentioned there's a 500 contribution. So where does that money go? It would be, I'm sure there's more than just the banquet. That's the expense.
Yeah.
There's always a lot of.
So other expenses are quite a bit of additional ice maintenance for the curling for basically 5 full days, which we have a ice maintenance contract with a company, and this would go over and above that. We have to provide signage. There's some signage requirements for identifying the teams that will be used in an opening ceremonies. We are hoping to provide the volunteers with some identification apparel so that the people that are attending the event know who a volunteer is and who they can ask for help or if something needs to be done. Trying to think what other, those I think are the biggest expenses. The two biggest would be the banquet and the ice maintenance, the additional ice maintenance charges.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I guess maybe if you do this again, I would appreciate seeing a budget so that I have more of a sense of, because I know you're asking for the banquet, but I know their expenses are much more than that. And it would give us a more wholesome view of the requirements of, because this is a big commitment, I know from the curling club. So asking for the banquet's great, but I think that if we could see the big picture, we really appreciate that the ask is probably very minimal. So thank you.
Okay.
Council, any other comments or questions? Paul, just a couple comments.
Yep.
Can you just help us understand how Penetang Curling Club got this tournament? Did you apply? Did someone say, hey, can you? Just be interested to hear.
So yeah, like we, coming back from around the end of COVID, our membership had dropped quite a bit from what it was previously. So our goal was to start to build membership back up again. And it's been a slow process, but we seem to be slowly making strides every year. 2 years ago, we decided that we wanted to try and get back in to the hosting of curling competitive events. So last year we put our hand up to host 2 qualifying events, which would be kind of the event leading up to a provincial championship. And with the idea that the following year we would put our hand up to host a provincial event. So we did ask for the opportunity, and it was, it's like, I guess, successful, or they agreed to allow us to host it.
Good, thank you. I remember, I believe it was 2015, the Ontario Scotties was hosted here in Penetang.
Yes, 10 years
And I
ago.
believe it was a change in the last minute. One venue couldn't do it due to an ice issue, and I believe literally the 11th hour when we took it.
That was a little bit prior to my time with the Penetang Curling Club, but I do believe those type of things happen. There's a lot of curling clubs in Ontario that have a lot of aging infrastructure, and things come up at the last minute that are emergency type repair problems that need to be done. And I can certainly see that that could have been the dynamics of how that happened.
My comment was literally, I think the Penetang Curling Club does a great job. You mentioned the volunteerism. I think there's a lot of great things being done down there. I think kudos to you and the club for sponsoring a provincial tournament in Briar here in the town. So good job. Thank you. Council, any other comments? Thanks so much for being with us tonight. Okay, we're going to move on, Council. Number 2 is our Finance and Corporate Services section. I'm going to turn the chair to Councillor Marchand.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, so before I read the motion, we are going to, there's two items on the consent agenda. The first one is the Charles Scott Playground, and the second is the 2014 Master Fire Plan Status Update. Is there any questions or comments with those? Both of them? Okay, so why don't we start with Charles Scott Playground then? Your worship.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the letter that was attached. I appreciate the staff report that was attached. My feeling still doesn't change. I live there. I am there all the time. I know it said there's some program going up there. I am going to walk that neighborhood and ask the neighbors how much they see, because I hear all the time there's no traffic up in that park. The letter that was attached to the consent agenda, it was a letter that supported our funding request when we put that in the summertime. I do support, let's reach out to the public and ask the public what's the needs and the needs of the community. I would also say there's no dire emergency this happens this summer. I know, we say 20 years of life cycle. There's nothing that says we can't take our time this year. Let's assess it. Let's do some community outreach. Let's do some consulting. And then in 27, add it to the capital plan and do the work from there. My feelings remain the same where it was last time. Thank you.
Deputy LaRose, did you want to comment on this one?
No, not necessarily. The one question I did have was that according to our consultant Monteith, they said you should have a park within every quarter of a kilometer, I believe it was. But since we had our meeting on Monday, I looked at the map that's provided on this, and we're showing no parks across the bay or on the opposite side. So we have two large sections of town with 0 parks, and here we are fighting over $145,000 for an upgrade to an existing park. So I was just sort of confused as should we be dumping the money into that, or should we be developing other parks in other locations?
Councillor DeRush? Sorry, did you want me to redirect that to?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much. So I read this carefully, and I can appreciate that maybe it isn't a real busy park. And I suspect for various reasons, because if you don't know it's there, then you're not going to go looking for it, because, and I don't know that maybe we've done a great promotion of all of our parks. I mean, we do what we can, but I'm not sure that people even know that it's there. Secondly, the reason that we want to have parks not just in one location is to make them accessible to communities, because not everybody can drive to various locations for activities. So that's always the major principle of having various infrastructure in different areas. And I believe that we're kind of at a crucial point for this unit, because I suspect that we're going to have to start pulling stuff out of the sand if we don't start doing something soon, because there's certainly some requirements when it comes to playground equipment. And I think that if we don't go ahead, either way, things are going to have to start coming out of the ground. Secondly, we do have the funding. We do have, I think, half of it covered through grant dollars. And if we're going to proceed with this, I feel strongly that we need to do that to take advantage of that funding. Lastly, if folks are really not, if council's really not engaged in trying to move this forward, I would ask that we delay until the rec master plan is complete, to ensure that we're not doing things that go against what recommendations we're going to receive. Because to date, we still really don't know what Monteith's going to suggest regarding our playgrounds and whatnot. in some communities, they've started centralizing everything, and they've taken some of these neighborhood facilities away. But I don't know what Monty's going to tell us. So if all else fails, at least if we're not going to move forward with that this year, I would ask that we don't do anything until Monteith does tell us either way. So thank you.
Councillor Leroux, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, Monteith in our report has recommended that we renew the park as part of the strategy. So I think that that's a thing that we have to look at. The other thing is that we have to look at, as Mayor mentioned, sometimes the numbers are not there, but at the same time, we have to look at the area, the Marchand subdivision was originally classed as a 55-plus subdivision, which means that there are very few children in that subdivision. But that doesn't mean that that cannot change or will not change in 5 years or 8 years. We're looking at parks lasting or being looked at to rechange them every 20 years, which this one is over 5 years over. And I'm thinking that, you know, a lot of the people, the aged people in Marchand subdivision are not going to be there for another 20 years, a lot of them. And it could easily change to become a subdivision where we'll see families with children. So I agree that it's time to do it.
Your Worship.
Thank you. I'll agree with Councillor Drush. Let's not rush through this process. Let's let the rec master plan inform us. Councillor Roux, I don't disagree on your comment. There might be turn and change, but if that's 8 years from now, it's halfway through this build, and it will mean we're only 10 years away from another build. So, you know, right now, I'm not seeing people wanting to use what's there. They want to read a book. So I would agree with Councillor Rush. Let's let the master plan inform our decision.
Can I comment, or you have another comment? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, just bringing it back then, if in the case that we decide that then no, we're not going to proceed with this playground, then it as a state where it would have to be demolished or come down. And at this point in time, then if that was the case and we're looking at future years, I wouldn't see going through the expense of building a gazebo.
I have a question with regards to the funding subsidy, and are we at risk of losing that subsidy if it's not spent, and is there timelines around it that for that particular funding?
Thank you, Councillor Marchand. We, through the funding program, we're communicated that we should hear in November, December of this year the results of that application, but we know that results of grant applications aren't always delivered on time. So based on the information we know, we should be hearing soon, but that's not guaranteed. It's not uncommon that sometimes funding announcements are delayed later. I can certainly, if we're successful, explore if there's possibility in delaying the project, but we wouldn't know until we receive the outcomes of that application.
Thank you for that clarification. So everyone has had an opportunity to comment. Is someone looking to put a motion on the floor to delay this in the rec plan? Because that's something that I think was echoed here. Sir, go ahead.
I have another question to the director. In the case of delaying, Madam Director, would it be possible that this playground could subside another year without having to be changed?
Through Chair Marchand to Councillor Leroux, it is possible. It's like asking a mechanic, you know, when your car is going to die, when it's going to stop. You don't know. So it's continual, as noted in the staff report. It's something that we've been paying a closer eye on. You know, best practices to plan for replacement 20 years. That 20 years came. We've been pushing it out, and it's to the point now where we're starting to receive some complaints. There are components of the park equipment that cannot be repaired because we can't get parts for it anymore, which was our recommendation why now to move forward with the replacement. So to hopefully address your question in full, the park would remain in service until it became a safety issue, and then we would have to close the park and come to council probably with a recommendation to just remove it completely, physically.
Councillor Waters?
It'd be a question for the director. With the grant money, is it, I assume it's earmarked for certain things that it has to be spent on, or is there any movement on where the money can be spent or how it can be spent?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Waters, with this grant application and with most grant applications, it's extremely specific what the money is to be spent on. The case is made to support the funding program initiatives, whatever the province or the federal government, whoever the grantor is. In this instance, it's the province, and it's very specific. The timelines of the projects, you submit a work plan to say when the project will be RFP'd, when construction would need to take place, when all those multiple steps would happen.
Would the, so I understand the money has to be spent. Could it be spent on picnic tables, or does it have to go into swings, I guess? The intent of the grant is to make the space accessible. So it was specifically applied to make the playground accessible and to increase use from youth with a variety of abilities. I took a little walk up there last night, and this is the first time I'd been in the park, and it's a really nice little park. There's a place there where you can have a view over the largest part of the town that I've seen in one spot. And to me, it struck me as someplace that somebody's going to go and have a coffee or whatever. It didn't really strike me as a children's playground, even though there's children's stuff there. It's nice and trees and wide open. It looks like it's an old folks park. And so I guess if the money could still be used to make it accessible, but have it put towards park benches and gazebos and picnic tables and stuff, if that would be something that could be considered. Councillor
Dresch, you had another comment or question?
Just another comment. Again, it's a catch-22 with parks like this because it's old. It's over 20 years old. It's not attractive at this point compared to other parks that we have. So what comes first? If people aren't going there because why? No, maybe because it's not a very appealing park compared to parks that we have elsewhere. So again, if we were replacing with this 150,000, I believe is the budget for this thing, it'd be a beautiful playground. It'd be beautiful. And you would have people going there. Well, if we told them it was there, yes, we would have people going there. I know that a year ago, my mission was to do a tour with my grandkids to go see all the parks. I honestly did not know it was there. I did not go to that park. Went to all the other ones. And again, they're great, but when they're old and they're maybe outdated, then it's not something that you would think of. And again, we need to promote what we have. We're not good at telling our story. So it's a catch-22 with this park. And again, I think it's important that we keep these community parks accessible so that folks can walk and at least have that opportunity to participate to some of these activities. Thank you.
Councillor Bedevancourt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is to the director. Is it fair to say that this project is grant dependent? And what I mean by that, if the grant does not come in, we're not proceeding, and that money that we're raising through taxation will just go into reserves?
Thank you for the question. Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Bedevancourt. as noted in not this report, but the previous one with respect to the grant, if we didn't get the grant, then I would return to council with a follow-up staff report providing some options. One of those options could be a much smaller play structure, which council, the town could have entertained without the grant, but the idea behind the grant was to take something and improve accessibility, make it better and more accessible for residents to use, which made made this project, staff felt, an ideal one to apply for the funding, because it would make it a better playground project.
Thank you.
Okay. If no comments were on that particular consent agenda item, can we move to the next one before I put them on the floor? Okay. The 2014 Fire Master Plan status update. Any questions with regards to that report? Deputy LaRose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question on the very first item where it says the town continue to support a partnership with the municipality of Tiny for the SCBA compressor. The next sentence says the Penetang Fire Department has not used this system in years. So I would wonder why in an 11-year-old report, we kicked in to buy a machine to refill our SCBA bottles, but we don't. Why would we continue to fund this or help them out or get it when we don't use it? So that was just because it's the first one.
Through the chair to the councillor. That's something that I've already started to investigate. I've talked to the fire chief in Tiny and I've asked him to give me an update of and further give me some information how that whole process came about. I did read about that and I am trying to investigate and get an answer to that. So far, I haven't heard back from the chief from Tiny.
Thank you. Your worship, go ahead.
Thank you. I just have a comment. Maybe our CEO, I'll direct it to our CEO to answer. I don't think it's fair for interim chief Crawford to answer because you've only been in the seat for days. CEO Lees, I appreciate this report. I know I asked for it last time and I appreciate Chief Renaud doing that. I appreciate the detail. I think it's well done. I'm disappointed to learn that we had a master plan and there's a number of items on this master plan that outline for us to do, strategic items to do, and we did 40% of the items, 60% of the items were either not completed or they're in the middle of doing them. So more than half of the items, we didn't even do anything with it. I'm just wondering how important is this strategic document? Because on the capital plan, we got a plan before us tonight on the budget saying, let's update the master plan. But I'm reading that we don't really do much with it. So I'm just wondering if you can give me some insight into that. The importance of the strategic document and the utilization of this document when it doesn't appear like we're using it.
Through Madam Chair to Mayor Rawson, certainly, I mean, I think the numbers speak for themselves at the bottom of the memo. I would suggest that the numbers in terms of recommendations completed versus recommendations not started are not where we'd like to see them after a period of time. What I would say is I think as an organization and a decision that council recently made around ramping up our resources in the fire department vis-a-vis a full-time fire chief, I think certainly will be of assistance as we move forward. I think the Fire Master Plan is an important document. I think there's lots of reasons why we should have a Fire Master Plan, and I'm happy to get into that should committee wish. But I think from a leadership standpoint, I think the master plan is an important document. Have we performed where we'd like to perform in terms of the bottom line results and quantity of recommendations implemented versus not implemented? I think the answer to that question is no, not where we'd like to be as an organization. But I think moving forward, I think we're on a better trajectory with some additional resources.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Duresh and then Deputy LaRose.
Thank you very much. I too was really actually quite sad when I read this master plan and I realized that 60% of the stuff hadn't been completed. And then I looked at a lot of the reasons why it's not complete, and it says additional staff time required. And I can't speak for previous councils, but I can certainly speak for myself. And we've had requests from the fire department here before at this table for additional resources. And, you know, I don't believe that we granted it. But we did this year. We're going full time with our fire chief, which again, I think the whole master plan as a reflection of the times that we were going through, the decisions that were made, and they were made in hopes that it would all pan out. And again, now we find ourselves going back to full-time fire chief, which I'm really happy with, because if anything, this supports that decision. It supports it, because it's unheard of to have a 10-year-old master plan and that most of it isn't complete. Like in my world, that doesn't happen. Yeah, it doesn't happen. So I'm really glad that we're starting fresh. We've got more resources, and I think it would be crucial for us to upgrade this master plan so that we can get a better handle on where it is we want to be, what we've done well, where it is we want to be, where we want to go, and what kind of resources we're going to require to pull through to make our services the best they can be. And it's certainly no reflection of staff, because I know they've done the best they could with what they had, and they've done the best they could to tick off these items off that master plan. But I think certainly I will take a lot of that. I take it to heart, because if we're not providing adequate staff for people to do their job, it's shame on me, because that is not certainly the predicament we want to put our staff in. So I am really all full support of upgrading this master plan so that we can get a good feel for what it is that we need to do for our fire department and what it is that we need to move forward so that we can make it the best it can be. Thank you.
Deputy LaRose, you wanted to make a comment?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just a comment. It has been 10 or 11 years with it. I do believe councils over the years have supplied staff enough time and enough effort to do this. I just don't think it was a priority. I wouldn't recommend us doing this right now, with the fact that we're going to go and get a new full-time fire chief. Then we would be saddling that new person with this plan. They may have a better plan. They may have a different plan. They may want one. They may not want one. Why would we give it to them, then hire the new person? Then the new person comes back to us and says, well, that wasn't my idea. I'm just working through it. So we have a not even a half completed one over 11 years. I don't see a problem with us waiting a little while till we get a new chief and let the new chief be part of the fix.
Thank you. Councillor LaRue, and then back to Councillor Drush.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question is, upgrading this fire master plan, what is involved financially? What are the financial implications of this? Can we ask that question through to our treasurer? Or?
50,000 in the capital budget.
50,000, okay.
Yes. Sorry, Councillor Drush.
Just to add to a comment from our Deputy Mayor LaRose, the 50,000 is to do a master plan, which you bring in experts to bring in perspectives on the new trends, what directions are being taken moving forward, what's required in small towns and whatnot. So I can appreciate that certainly the fire chief will have, or whoever's in charge will be guiding the process, but they are not necessarily the ones who bring forward necessarily their vision and whatnot. It's all melted in with everybody's vision in the town, the community, the senior management team, the town, everybody's comments go into that. But I think that it's key that we get experts at the table who are able to educate us into, you know, what it is that's expected from fire departments today. And because now it shouldn't really just be called fire. It's definitely a lot broader than that. There's so many requirements now for departments. So I think that it would be a waste of time to wait. I think we need to move on this, and again, master plans take a while, so it won't be done in 6 months. That's for sure. Thank you.
CAO Lees, you wanted to add a comment? Or?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a comment for committee. I don't envision completing this document and then handing it over to the new chief. Like, I think, as has been noted, the process to update a fire master plan does take time. And I envision that a new chief would certainly be part of that process. I think from my perspective, there's probably no better time than now to update this plan, given we're looking at addressing a leadership shortage or from a capacity perspective in the fire department. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Deputy LaRose.
Thank you. Just one last question. Is this a requirement? Is this something that the province requires us to do, or the National Fire Service, or whatever the governing body is? Is this something we have to do? We could be arguing about a want or a need or a have to.
Chief Crawford, can you answer that, please? Thanks.
Through the chair to the councillor, no, it's not a requirement. It's best practice in industry or in municipalities to do your master fire plan. They're normally reviewed every 5 years and then updated every 10.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to put on the floor that the following consent agenda items, having been given due consideration, be received for information: the Charles Scott Playground and the 2014 Fire Master Plan status. Can I get a mover for that? Mover, Councillor Durush. Seconder, Councillor Waters. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to matters for consideration. So we have a few items here, and if it works for council, we'll go through each one. The first one is the aerial fire truck replacement. And before I read the motion, is there any questions with regards to the report that is being presented here this evening? Your worship.
Thank you. I'll address my comments to the CEO. CEO Lees, I appreciate this report as well. The fire chief, for those no longer with us, I'll direct it to you. If you want to direct it to interim chief, that's to you. I appreciate this. This was what we asked, and I think this is respectful to our capital plan. I think it's respectful to the tax. I think it's respectful to all those things. I appreciate that in theory, council, we're able to make our capital expenditure 5 years longer than what we were anticipating. So instead of a 2030, we can now go to 2035. I really appreciate that. My question is a couple. One is, how come that wasn't brought as an option? Like, how come our previous fire administrator and leadership didn't look at that as an opportunity, saying, here's some opportunities that we can extend our capital? Has that been explored or assessed or evaluated? Question one. And my second question is, when I look at that on the capital plan, I can't see this like leveled out over a period of time. My simple math brain says 3 million divided by 10 is $300,000 a year. So I'm just wondering, I don't see that on the capital. I'm just wondering if you can help me understand how we look amortize this cost for this capital over that period of time. Sorry, and I got a third question. If there hasn't been, will there be any consideration for other fire apparatus like this that we could do this similar assessment and extend equipment out an extra 5 years and then do the reassessments? Thank you.
CAO Lees.
Through Madam Chair to Mayor Rosson's questions. Question number one, I don't have an answer. I don't know. I don't know why this wasn't explored, but certainly at the end of the day, that's something on me, not on previous fire leadership, as was noted. Number two, I'll let the Director of Finance maybe elaborate into a little more depth, but I do believe we've got an operational as well as a capital transfer to reserve that does level things off over a 10-year period. But again, I'll let the Director of Finance just verify that comment. And then question three, certainly I think it's a good opportunity for us, and I think it's fair to say that we would look at future purchases to see if there's opportunities like this. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Carrie, thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mayor Rosson. Just to expand on the question and the CAO's comments related to the fire vehicle and equipment transfers to reserve. In the operating budget, there has been historically an annual transfer to reserve that we have been trying to increase annually, and we have. So I think over the years, typically it was $100,000 to $150,000. Now it's up to $193,000. And when the aerial came into the capital plan, we knew that the competing monies for other capital projects or other transfers to reserves, we just didn't have the taxation to increase as much as we needed to cover the long-term financing plan for all fire vehicles, especially considering in the last several years, costs have tripled. So it wasn't until 2024, I believe, that we realized we need to start putting away more with this aerial purchase coming up in the future. We do have a capital budget transfer to fire reserve line now as well. So the combination of those two budget lines using taxation is just over $300,000 a year. But that didn't start 10 years ago. It's just been transactions, financial planning that we've tried to grow over the last 10 years.
Follow-up?
Thank you, Carrie. So the 300 then today moving forward will cover the aerial, but there is other fire apparatuses probably got to replace, new tanker or pumper or other vehicle in the future. So if I'm hearing you right, we might be underfunding the capital asset requirements, and probably a priority need to come into what that capital planning asset replacement looks like and up-leveling that cost. That's kind of what I'm hearing.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mayor Rosson, absolutely. With the asset management plan recently presented, we know there's a capital funding for infrastructure gap. That's a perfect example of it. When I did the analysis and pushed the aerial out in the draft 2 of the capital plan by 5 years, analyzed the fire reserve at that time, also increased the cost of the aerial 5 years later. There is still going to be a debenture requirement, but it's less because obviously we're putting that $300,000 away over the next annually from this point moving forward. Increasing it in the future, I think when we get to my budget report further in the agenda, I do reference an attachment that I provided for information, which really just does show you know, the competing priorities and the balancing act we have to do departmentally or priority-wise, but there is $14 million in the 10-year capital plan of taxation being transferred to reserves for long-term planning of infrastructure and vehicle and equipment replacement. In most cases, it's probably not enough for each of those divisions because of the asset management plan funding gap, but we're still trying to work towards that, though.
Carrie, Jeff, John, thank you. This is a really, really good one.
Thank you. Any other questions before I read the motion? Councillor Betabancourt?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the treasurer, I think listening to your answers there, I think I know the answer to this question, but what you're referring to is as a specific reserve for the replacement of fire vehicles. We do not have a reserve for replacement of all types of rolling stock, whether it be snow plows, or it's not a vehicle replacement reserve. It's a fire department specific vehicle reserve.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Betabancourt. Fire and Public Works have annual transfers to reserve, among others that are in my report. But historically, Public Works and Fire have always had a transfer to reserve because of the amount of vehicle and equipment that we have to buy for those departments and the cost. The annual transfers to reserve came out of our capital base budget of taxation, which left less taxation for capital projects of the day, let alone replacing assets in the future. So it was nominal. And it really has only been in the last 5 years or so that we have been purposely trying to increase those transfers to reserve to close that funding gap somewhat.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just supplementary, and I understand the funding part. I was curious whether we had a corporate vehicle and equipment replacement schedule, and then we had a reserve fund to support that replacement schedule, so that we weren't funding, say, a replacement snowplow and a new aerial in the same year, that we were trying to balance the taking money out of the reserve and putting money in, so that we had that over the 10, 15 year period, whatever period you would think would be appropriate.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Betabancourt, there is not a corporate overall fleet replacement schedule. Departmentally, the senior managers do that in terms of when they're scheduling the replacement of their larger vehicles. We did have a fleet replacement schedule when we owned our smaller vehicles, such as our pickup trucks. We had that on a schedule. But now that we've moved to leasing, we don't have a corporate one for those larger items like fire trucks and snowplows.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments before I read the motion? Okay, seeing none. The motion reads that the town continue to deploy the aerial apparatus to all structure fires within the municipality, recognizing its critical role in meeting NFPA 1720 response and operational benchmark, and that the replacement of the aerial apparatus be deferred up to 5 years, contingent on continued compliance with NFPA 1911 inspection, maintenance, and testing requirements. And finally, that the extension be reflected in the fire apparatus replacement schedule within the asset management plan and the 10-year capital plan. Can I get a mover? Mayor Rawson, seconder, Deputy LaRose. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Next motion, or next report is the facility management related to the library. The report is in front of you. Before I read the motion, is there any questions or comments? Your Worship. And Councillor Leroux, you go ahead first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Inasmuch as the facilities management operator position and lead hand position, I would be in total support of that. In as much as the library is concerned, I don't know any enhanced improvement, because this 41,000 whatever would have to be increased by another $30,000. The library has been for many, many years looking after their own facilities and doing a very good job at it. So on that portion of it, I would not be agreeable unless perhaps I know that there's been discussions with the CEO of the library and some staff. However, it hasn't gone to the board. And I think that before I would say to include the library in this scenario, I would like to hear a report back from the library board.
Your worship.
I have a problem with this one. I think we're making this more complex when we talk about the library board and the Library Act. And at the end of the day, the building's ours. It's our asset. It's ours. The report says, well, there's someone there that works so many hours and they do maintenance, which we pay for. It comes from the tax levy that we transfer over. I support the municipality having a facility specialist that maintains town assets. I wholly support that. I don't support the library having their own thing. I think our goal, and our treasurer just talked about our capital plan, our asset plan. If we're going to have an expert that manages our assets, then manage our assets. I think having a separate deal with the library, I think we complicate it by saying they've got their person, then we roll it into this role, we roll in the department. I think the library should manage library operations. I think they're a tenant of our building. I look at no different than the museum. I think they can do their programming and do what they do, but if we're going to invest in this facilities role, then let's have a facility role that manages this. When I read this about this other complications and the options, not recommended staff, CEO's opinion, I honestly don't care. I think our objective is to maintain our infrastructure, period. And if we're going to invest in that, then let's take care of our infrastructure. I would say maybe the CEO can work out with the CEO and figure it out, but if we're going to increase our FTE account to make this work and do it, then let's cover it. I feel strongly on this.
Any other comments or questions from members of council? Councillor Biddebunkor.
Two things. First of all, I don't disagree with what the mayor has said, but my understanding of the report is that more time is needed in order to work through that. I think that there is some merit in looking at bringing the facility management under the town umbrella, but I respect that there's time needed to work through that. My second comment has to do with staffing overall. I'm concerned in terms of adding staff to our organization. And we, in our previous budget meeting, we added staff and I supported that. And I'm going to be supporting the facility management. But from my perspective, and I don't have all the figures at my fingertips, but we've been adding staff. We've been adding 2 months to a 10-month contract. We've been doing things over the last several years. And I was of the view, in support of the staffing increases, that at some point they would level off. At some point, as an organization, we would say, we're good for a while. We've added, we've hit the hot spots, we're good, you know? But we continue to receive staffing requests, and I'm getting troubled in terms of I don't see this point where we're going to be level, you know, from an organization. And that period of being level does not last forever. I recognize population increases, service demand increases. You get pinched for a while, then you have to come forward and ask for another staff or a couple of staff. But I'm just troubled that I'm not sure where we're going with our staffing, and I want to understand that better, because I think I thought 2 staff additions before we were done for a while, and we're adding. So that was just kind of a general comment, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that comment. Is there any other comments? Councillor DeRush and then Deputy LaRose.
Certainly, to come back to the report for the library and the facilities management, I think we've planted the seed, and we've opened discussions with the CEO, and I think that at this point, I think we need to. I definitely support the facility operating position to move forward as full-time position, but I feel that as far as the library, we planted the seed, and I think this is something maybe we can aim to maybe do in the future, is to maybe combine services, but I think it is premature at this point. So I would support just having the facility position move forward and to have the library continue as they do. Thank you.
Just one quick comment. I just wanted to make comment. We hadn't heard about it. Councillor Waters and I sit on the library board, and it was news to us. So I heard about it on Monday at our budget meeting for the very first time. So just to say that the library board hasn't dealt with it, looked at it, or come back with a recommendation to help out staff. So we're nowhere with it.
Thank you. Your worship, another comment?
Yeah. To the CEO or to the treasurer, my quick math says the motion says 9,200 be included in the 26 final draft for the facility operator transition to Leanne, and it says 32,000 for this role. So 41,000, let's call it. Could I say or propose or amend? Could we cut this in half? So instead of 40, call it 20? That it starts sometime in June or July or halfway through the year, and we take the first half and figure it out. Would that be a reasonable thought? Because I feel strongly about this path, but I agree with Councillor Vadavonker. It needs more time, and I appreciate it needs time. So could we amend this in a way that says, let's do this halfway through the year instead of 41 or 40,000, 20 halfway through the year, and take the time to work our way through it? Is that a reasonable path from your view?
CEO Elise.
Through Madam Chair, I'll answer, and then if I could ask your indulgence just to engage the Director of Rec. So the 41,000 is in accordance with the initial recommendation that came on October 29th, which did not consider the library being incorporated in that. So there are implications if council or committee wants to pull the library under that umbrella. There are other financial implications of doing that. In terms of the question as it relates to, can we defer this half a year? I think I go back to my first comment, which is this 41,000 is under the premise of not including the library. Obviously, there are options to include the library as we've outlined, but maybe I'll just ask our Director of Rec to speak to that question if I can, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The CAO, I think, is spot on. Even if council were to approve half of it, halfway through the year, if council wished to include the library, there would still be additional funding asked. There would be additional money required to centralize, to include the library to manage that piece as well.
Thank you. Councillor Waters, go ahead.
With the extra, and I don't know who, probably finance, I guess. With the money that extra that would be required to have the library included, does that exclude the money that is already being given to the library for those same benefits? Or is it in addition to what we're already paying the library?
Go ahead, Carrie. It might be premature to even address that question. Basically, would it come out of the library, the operating funding be pulled from the library and given, and then just technically moved over to us, kind of? Moving it from two different pots is the question, really, right?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Waters. In the Director of Recreation's report, she does speak to the fact that there would be budget already in the library's operating budget for facility maintenance and management. But for the town and the Recreation Department in particular to take over the full management of that facility, there would also be an incremental cost on top of that. Do you know that cost, Sherry, offhand?
Sorry.
No. Sorry. To cover the management.
To cover the cost for facility.
So again, as I mentioned, the 41,000 is additional funds for staffing. The option related to the library on top of the, I apologize, I don't have the report right in front of me, but on top of the amount that's already in the library budget for facility management and building maintenance, there would be an additional requirement. I believe the total might have been an additional $30,000 on top of the $41,000 ask.
I think it's also, maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but we're making some guesstimates here. And so coming back to the report that's before us was the original report that was brought forward through the Parks and Recreation with regards to existing staff to be able to support the existing work. Then we added on the library for exploration around could we do the maintenance there. So understanding that, yes, there's a maintenance line in the library board. I don't know that it's as easy as pulling or if it's enough to cover what it would be for our existing staff to be able to do that. And I don't think it's fair for us to make this assumption. We just pull dollar for dollar out of the library operating budget and say that it covers ours. So I think that's kind of one of the pieces, and just wanted to be mindful of the motion that is here on the table for us to consider. And I don't think it's fair to ask to make assumptions about what that potentially may cost. Councillor Doresh, you had another comment?
Yes, thank you. I understand that some council members are motivated to kind of put this all together and to solve it today. But again, the library, they're tenants of the library, and they run a wonderful service. They provide great community programs. And I feel that to try to crunch this to make it happen within the next 6 months is not fair to the board. It's not fair to the people, the staff, and it doesn't. It doesn't. I don't think it reflects well on us because again. We've agreed that it would be a good idea to have all of our facilities under one umbrella, and I agree. But if we're going to start looking at our facilities, we have a curling club that is our facility, and we do have tenants there who use it, and we're not even talking about them because they do have an arrangement. They run the service, they effectively lease that property, but it's our property. So if we're going to talk about the library, we better start looking at all our properties because we cannot, I don't think it's fair to look at one group and not look at the other because they're all our facilities. So I think when things work, we should leave them. I think we should leave the library the way it is, and now that maybe we have something in mind that we want to do in the future, but that's something we can aim for. And I think we need to just get our house in order, and then we can start looking at facilities as a whole. But that's where I stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rush. Councillor Roux?
Time lead hand and then going to a full-time facility operator. There would be an increase to the budget of $41,919, leaving the library as status quo or leaving it alone. If we decide to put the library in there, so the addition to the budget then would no longer be $41,919, it would become $71,919. Is that correct? Who do I get an answer from?
Sorry, where were you getting your math from?
Well, they're saying that to take over the library would be an additional $30,000. So you have to add the $30,000 to the $41,919. So it's no longer $41,919 increase to the budget. It would become a $71,919 increase to the budget. Leave the.
Right. Yeah. Your Worship?
I don't think you have a motion on the floor yet. I think we just open up for discussion. I agree with you, Councillor Roux. My thinking was we would transfer 30,000 less to the library and put it into our general fund. I don't see an increase to 30. I just see, I think Councillor Marchand said, well, instead of going to pot A, we go to pot B. That's the way I see it. I also agree with Councillor Drush. Thank you for bringing up the other assets. I missed on that piece. Seeing that, I think there needs to be more time taken to assess this. I'll move a motion that says let's cancel this facility operator position in the budget, and we'll let staff continue doing work on this program and considering things like the library and the curling club and the other assets. So then when we look at what does it truly need, we have the full figure in there. So Madam Chair, I'll move a motion that says that everything that's there is removed from the 2026 budget, and staff will continue to evaluate this program moving forward.
I think you just, so you're moving that. Do you have a seconder? Any questions or comments about that? Do you need any further clarification on that? Pardon? Treasurer? Oh, I'm sorry.
Through you, Madam Chair, just to clarify Mayor Rosson's comment or motion, just to clarify that when this staffing request for 41,919 was presented on October 29th, it was referred back to staff, so it did not get a motion to include it in the budget. So currently it is not included in draft number 2.
So I'll withdraw.
Well,
It's not in there, so I'll just withdraw that one.
That's going to be my next question was, are you withdrawing your motion? So I will read the motion that is on the floor then. That a full-time facilities operator position transition to a facilities lead hand position with an increased operating budget of $9,241 be included in the 2026 final draft budget for council consideration, and that a permanent part-time facilities operator position transition to a full-time facility operator position with an increased operating budget of $32,678 be included in the 2026 final draft budget for council consideration. Can I get a mover? Councillor Betancourt, second. Councillor Drush, all those in favor? Opposed? Can everyone lift their hands? So call for the motion. Who supports? I didn't see it go up, that's all. Opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't see your hand go up. Okay, the next item on the agenda is enhanced services and communication. So before I put this motion on the table, this has been included in draft 2 of the budget before us this evening. Correct, Carrie, as I say that? We talked about this at section?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes. So the items that council directed staff to make changes to the operating and capital budget are included in draft 2 so that the financial impacts are known to the request that council made of staff.
Thank you for that. I just wanted that to be clear before I put it forward. Any questions or comments with regards to the report that was provided? Deputy LaRose, and then your worship.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just kicking in with what Councillor Betancourt and what the mayor alluded to earlier. I have a huge problem with this one. I look at all the things that council has done over the last large number of years. There's too many people coming in, we're too busy, we need software. We spent tens of thousands of dollars on software. Now they can get their swimming lessons online so they don't come into the office. Problem solved. Now we want more people over there. We had a communications person. We never had one. Then we had one. Now we want to update that. Now we need more. So I look at the overall picture and I say to myself, Andrea brought us a report last month or last week that we built 4 new houses in town. So we have 4 new customers. 4. And we're upping our amount of doing stuff by hundreds of thousands. So to me, that's very, very bad. It's not responsible on us. It's not responsible to our ratepayers to go and say, you've increased your entire new money coming in by 4 people. So it's not really an onus to look at that as that's not hard. 4 more water bills, 4 more tax bills. That's not onerous. We only have a maximum of 4 new people coming into our building down here, downstairs to do anything. So that's not onerous. So I look at it and I say, all of that is only going to increase for us at max our share of $10,000. That's our only new money that we're bringing in this year, $10,000. And we sit here at budget and say, well, we just need one new person. We just need another half a person here. What did all these people not get done last year? What didn't they get done 2 years ago? We are serviced well. I've never received a call this term about our service level in town. Nobody's ever come and said, you're not picking my garbage, you're not plowing my road, you're not thing, I had to wait too long in the planning department. None of that, none. So if our service level is okay and we only have 4 new customers, can't we just go status quo with people? It's the most expensive thing we buy because they last forever. And to me, there's absolutely no reason. So I cannot support any more new people.
Thank you, Deputy LaRose, Your Worship, and then Councillor Bedevancourt.
Thank you. I was going to say at the end, it sounds like you're not going to support the motion. Definitely. That's what I was getting from that. I appreciate this report. I know I brought it forward last time. I would disagree with the deputy wholeheartedly on this one. I think this is one role we do need. I think if we look back, everything's about communication. And Councillor Drush, you talked about that a little while ago, saying, hey, people don't know how to get to X Park or Y Park. I think it's all about communication. I think last council meeting, I think we illustrated that with our accessibility on our website. I think if we even look back to this past year with the ice storm, if we look at the building collapse, there's a number of things that have happened that when those events happen, communication's pivotal, but on the regular daily occurrence, communication is what it's all about. And I think the catalyst is having strong communication on behalf of the municipality that represents the municipality to the public. I think we've done a tremendous job here, but I think this provides another opportunity to up-level that. I think it's just a great opportunity for us to communicate and cohesively communicate to the community. I do have a question, Madam Chair. And it's in regard to, understanding we do this, it would leave a half of a role that's in place, say the IT functions. I'm just wondering if staff had a chance to look at that, because we have talked about difficulty of attracting somebody and bringing somebody, especially with a half-time position. I'm wondering if our IT provider might be a solution. I'm wondering if we've looked at that as an opportunity yet, or if it's been too early. I appreciate that.
Go ahead, Kelly. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mayor Rawson. Staff have not had the opportunity yet to explore the options. There are several options that we can explore in terms of part-time, engaging our current service provider for extra time. However, they haven't been able to respond in terms of their capability of providing these options, but that is something that should council decide to move forward with the enhanced level of service that staff would be exploring.
Thank you. Councillor Bedevancourt, you had a question or comment?
Yes, thank you. And there's a couple of things with this position, and I want to draw a distinction because I supported the earlier one, and the staff report in the recreation talked about the role and responsibilities within the recreation department and taking over additional facilities and the rationale. And I really understood that rationale. Although I was troubled in terms of adding extra staff, I understood the logic. This position, again, I understand what the mayor is saying, but I make a distinction here between we're not providing a service and we are providing a service. We are providing the service. What is talked about in this report, Madam Chair, is an enhanced service. And I don't know whether, as an organization, we need to have an enhanced service at this particular point. We're delivering a service. I would say that it's getting us by. It's not the service that the mayor talks about, and I don't disagree with what the mayor is saying. But in terms of a distinction in my mind between a need to have and a nice to have. I look at this enhanced service as being a nice to have as opposed to a need to have. And that's why I will not be supporting this recommendation.
Thank you. Any other member of council have, okay, there's more. Councillor Water, Darush, and then Deputy.
Would be my comment about the communication portion. I think it's very important that there is as much communication with the taxpayers as possible. I don't know that hiring additional time is going to do that. I think the problem is getting the communication to the public. You know, they use Facebook, the town website and stuff, but people that aren't into that, they're not there. That's why I think our electronic signs that we're putting in would be a help. For the cost of increasing a person here or half a person, we can have another sign put up. An example would be when we had our community information night for the budget, whenever it was, a couple weeks ago. There was nobody here, not a person. The only person out here was the CEO from the library. We had no members from the public. And why weren't they here? It's probably the most important meeting that they should have been here, but they weren't here. So either they don't care or they didn't know. And if they didn't know, why didn't they know? So I think the means that we're using to communicate now are not working. I think the person that's creating the information is okay. I don't have a problem with that. It's how do you get the information to the public?
You, Councillor Darush?
Sure. This is more of a general comment, a little bit like my colleague, Councillor Vanamoker. When I first got involved as council for the town of Penetanguishene, I couldn't believe how lean the staff was. Like as many of you know, I worked in another municipality for years, and I was shocked to see how lean staffing was in Penetanguishene, and that's not a bad thing. But what I saw in my reality, where we had 3 IT people, we had 2 communications people, and we weren't much bigger than Penetanguishene, but and again, definitely different financial circumstance. But that being said, the staff here in Penetanguishene are still trying to do all that work. Like the work is all there, no matter if you're small or you're big. The work still has to be done. It has to be done for one person or it has to be done for 20,000 people. It still has to be done. So kudos to the town of Penetanguishene and their staff, because it is impressive that as much work gets done as it does for the amount of demand and the small staff complement. It's mind-boggling to me. Now, that being said, I think this council has recognized that to grow, we needed to invest. And to your point, Councillor Vanamoker, we've been adding, and it is a little bit unsettling, because I feel that there has been a bit of not that there was a freeze, but there just weren't requests for staffing, I think, and people just kept on trudging and doing the most that they could do, and that was okay. But I think now maybe staff are more comfortable, or they're just, there's growth, and it may not be by housing that we're seeing the growth, but we're definitely growing as a community, and people are more sophisticated now. They have expectations of service levels, and if we want to continue to flourish as a community, we do need to find a balance in investing in our staff complement and doing that responsibly. So I too am where you mentioned, Councillor Vanamoker, but I do realize that we're still a lean machine. Like, we still have a very modest staff complement, and I'm really happy that staff feel comfortable in coming forward and asking, because if you don't ask, you're not going to get. And at least it makes us aware that there are needs out there, and we need to start putting those on a radar, and we need to try to be a little more, I guess, creative in trying to fulfill that and helping the town grow. So as far as this position, my only concern was, I know that we got requests through the budget process. For example, we had a request for a distribution and supply operator, a wastewater operator, and I know those are unnecessary. I know that the requests that come before us are not frivolous. I know that, and they're required. So my only concern is, what's the priority here? What's most important? And would it have been better to revisit these, or to have this position I think it was Councillor Winnamucker said that kind of hopped ahead in the hopper. So that's my only uncertainty as to this position. So thank you for allowing me to vent. Thank you.
It was good information sharing. Sorry, Deputy LaRose, had you, yeah, and then go ahead.
Quick comment. It's always been hard over the years. Councillor LaRue would tell you, so would George when he was the CAO here. It is hard to engage the public. You can go up and down the street, you can yell, you can scream, you can put up signs, you can send them a letter, you can do a survey, you can do all of those things. The hardest thing to do is to get them here. It's really, really hard. There's only been a few times, when we first switched to garbage tags, there was 1,000 people came out. That was a big deal. That was nice. It was good to see them, good to educate them and everything. But so I don't think adding this would help. So when I have a quick look at it, it says it's $123,000 a year this is going to cost us. So just for council's information, quick math will tell you we would have to take all of the tax money paid from the next 65 houses forever just to pay for this one position. So their share is going nothing to the new aerial truck, nothing to the new park system, nothing for plowing the road, nothing for nothing. All of that money. So when you talk about growth or no growth, that's why I brought it up. 4 houses gives us 10 grand. So to pay for this one position, 65 new houses would have to be built and all that money gone forever.
Thank you, Deputy LaRose. Your Worship.
Thank you. I'll leave my comment to what you were going to say aside, but I'll tell you later. I just want to correct the record, and I think I might have misheard or misunderstood, but Councillor Waters, you mentioned our existing communications okay. And I think this exercise isn't about people. I think our communications coordinator does a fabulous job. And I took exception. You said they're okay. I don't think it's about them, and I don't think it's about what we're doing. I think they do amazing work. I want to up-level that. And I say up-level, the quantity, meaning the amount of time we can allocate towards that. I don't think you had any disrespect there, but that's what I heard. And with fairness to people in the room, I just don't want it to be misconstrued that way. I also want to just state for the record for everyone, and maybe the CEO can help us with this. As a municipality, we've leaned on the County of Simcoe's communications team many times. There's many times where things have happened, things have occurred, and we've needed more help. And we want to lean on our partners for things like that. And I'm just saying that because there is a need. And there is a need to do this work. It's an important need, but I just think it's important that, and I agree with what Councillor Vadabunker said and Councillor Rush said, yeah, it didn't go through the normal process, it wasn't baked, but I'm just telling you from what I'm seeing, this is something that I do know is a need. And again, I just want to highlight, we are leaning on the county because we do have a shortfall here, not in the capacity, but in the amount of time we've been able to put there. Thanks for those comments.
Councillor Waters, you wanted to say something, and then Councillor LaRue.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. I wasn't suggesting that there was anything lacking in our current communication person. I was happy with what they were doing. It's just, I thought that we didn't have the means for them to use to communicate the information to them. There was no disrespect meant for them at all.
Thank you, Councillor Waters. Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Basically, I've listened to all the pros and cons, and It hasn't changed my mind in as much time as that I was originally myself looking at this report and supporting a full-time transition to a full-time communications coordinator. So I'm staying with it.
Can I say something, or would you like to say one more comment, Deputy LaRose? Go ahead, Deputy LaRose.
One quick thing. We looked at this without looking at anything. I look at this tonight and there's nothing. Doesn't tell me what this person would do, what their responsibilities are, what their duties are. What would they do to enhance it? We haven't looked at that. Is that sending out 10 more Facebook messages? Is that emailing? Is that creating, what's it doing? So I find it even harder after ripping off 65 houses that we'll never get to get built. That'll take us another 10 years to catch up for this one job. What would this person be doing and what would it enhance? If you received 3 messages a year from the town and now you're going to receive 6 because we're doubling it up, would that help? Is that what they're going to do? We have nothing in front of us to say what this job entitles. What are they going to do? All it says is give us $122,717.
All right, go ahead.
Well, Madam Chair, I'm just wondering if perhaps we could comment from our CAO on this matter.
CAO Lees, would you like to? What are you looking to? CAO Lees, do you have any comments that you would like to add?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm not sure what I'm being asked to comment on. The memo speaks for itself. I mean, certainly the Director of Legislative Services and myself are happy to field any questions or additional questions of clarity, but happy to get some clarity maybe.
As the chair, I would like to pull the plug on this, but go ahead.
Well, I guess the question to you, Mr. CAO, is clarification, and is to the response to deputy mayors to what this position, what they would be doing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Councillor Leroux. I mean, I don't have a list here to suggest that, you know, there's going to be 6 extra messages pushed out as opposed to 3. What I can say is, you know, we can do more with more. That's I think the harsh reality of everything we do as an organization, whether it's us in public sector or in private sector. I think we do, as has been noted, I think we do a tremendous job today from a communications and IT perspective. Can we up our game and can we take our game to the next level with more capacity? I think the obvious answer to that is yes. There's a number of times throughout the year when we as an organization internally as administration think about, you know, our communications plan and our PR plan and our marketing strategy, that, you know, the reality is we can only do what we have with the portion of the resource because the other portion is dedicated to IT. So I don't have a list here that suggests to you, you know, X, Y, and Z is going to be accomplished. But what I can say is there's lots of opportunities for us to do an even better job from a communications, PR, and marketing standpoint. But the reality is we've only got so much capacity with the tremendous resource we have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. So I just want to say that this is democracy at its finest. This is a really good discussion and debate that we're having, and it's a healthy discussion and a healthy debate. And I'm sorry I said pull the plug. I was, you know, being tongue in cheek because I couldn't keep track of who had spoken and who hadn't, and I didn't get to speak yet. So just a couple things that I want to echo and just kind of reinforce, or just things that I've heard through this. But again, it really is what I appreciate when staff bring forward a request for new staffing. There's quite an extensive process that is done in that report. There's also the justification, where the funds are coming from, and I really appreciate that process. And I know this was a request from the mayor, so this was a very different briefing note. And so I think all the questions that we brought up are all valid, given that I'm also struggling to understand what this individual will be doing more in a full capacity, because I have to echo, I think we do a great job with communications. I'm one of the first people to like and post on my own stories and get it out there, and we do a tremendous job, and that's really important. And also the IT support, you know, it's there for us as well, which is great. That hasn't been addressed either, and that's a big question mark. IT support is not cheap, and although we have good providers, and not having the same kind of response if it's not held in-house, that makes me a little anxious, I'll be perfectly honest. But I'm not supporting this evening because I think there's an opportunity for more work to be done on this request in terms of what the scope and scale of this position could bring to the town. And I think there's some good points raised around, we could, you know, knock on every door and say there's a council meeting tonight. People are not going to possibly show up. And you're right, this is one of the important things. We're talking about budget and taxations, but we'll get lots of feedback after council meetings, after we pass the budget of, you know, wow, what were you thinking when you approved that? Or, you know, what are the things? Well, had you been here, you would have saw the really good discussion we are having around these decisions. And so I just want to say kudos to us for really having respectful conversations about how we look at these things. So long-winded to say, I'm going to put it on the floor, and then we'll go from there. Does that sound good to everybody? Okay, the enhanced level of service communication, that the full-time communication and IT coordinator position transition to a full-time communication coordinator position, and an increased operating budget of $61,362 be included in the 2026 draft number 2 budget for council consideration. Can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by your worship, second by Councillor DeRush. All those in comment? Another comment? Oh, you have a comment? Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. You had 2 or 3, so.
Is that nice?
So there's comments tonight about what more are we going to get? What more are we going to do? Right now, the position is half-time. We're going to get twice the amount of time. But I want to just remind this council what we have passed. At last committee of the whole, we meaning staff, brought forward a report about payment in lieu of taxes. And we said, as a council, one of our priorities is to lobby and petition the government to change the payment in lieu of taxes. We've said the same thing about the shortfall of funding we received from the province for Central North Correction Centre. A lot of that, and you've seen the strategy documents, is communication. A lot of that is strategy and communication and how we're going to do it. Stuff that we haven't really been able to do yet, but we want to do. And you've seen the strategy of what we're going to do. So you're asking what? Those are 2 big things I just dropped on us right now. Are large topics, large strategic pieces about communication and doing the work that we're doing to move forward the work that we're doing. So I just wanted to highlight those, Madam Chair. Thank you.
I'm going to just comment on that as well as now we're getting into the operations of what this potential position could be. And I think that gets a little bit dangerous. Yes, we talked about those things. And is that what we all envisioned as this communication person? I don't know that we did. You raise a good point, but our role is not to create job descriptions and figure out what that work is going to be. I wanted to add that because I think that's, I didn't think of that as the responsibility of his communications person. It could very well be, but I think at this point we're trying to fill for that perspective. But any other comments that want to be added based on that? Councillor DeRush.
Just another little one to tag on to my other rant is that I would challenge anyone to find me a 0.5 communications person in municipalities anywhere. I would really challenge any one of us because you won't find one except in Penetanguishene. So that's why I'm supporting this motion. Thank you.
A mover and seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is defeated. It was 4, right? Okay, the motion is defeated. Okay, the next item is the 2026 draft budget number 2. Now, Carrie, with all due respect, so first of all, I want to say thank you again, and as the chair of this committee, for the thoroughness of your reports and briefing me on the work that has been done, because I'm sure tracking everything that gets approved and denied or that doesn't pass, there's a lot of things moving forward. So you have in front of you the report that does reflect changes that and approvals that were made at our first meeting, and then also took into consideration some items that were brought forward. Carrie, is there changes based on some of the things that we had proceeded with this evening that you want to comment on?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The changes that I've made this evening after the motions to date this evening, the facilities management position has been included at $41,919. And the communications financial impact related to IT functions in the amount of $61,362 has been removed. So in terms of where we sit today, right now in draft number 2, it is at a budget increase of sorry, 1 second. Currently, budget draft number 2 is at budget increase of $645,412, a municipal tax impact of 4.57%, which translates into an estimated overall tax bill impact of 3.94%.
Can I ask, thank you for that information. Can I ask for clarity? Item number 6 on the report was the guest house shelter. Originally, it's in the report here as $15,000. Based on the presentation, the request was $5,000. Has that been taken into consideration?
I had it in my notes to let everybody know that's a typo. That was a different ask. So yes, that's a typo, and the guest house is $5,000. Just related to the presentations earlier this evening. The community reach request is included in draft number 2. The guest house request is not, and the curling club request is not.
And for clarification, curling club was the $1,500 was the final number, right? It was $1,500. Okay, thank you. Okay, questions? Deputy LaRose, yep.
Yeah, just one quick question. What are, just to be sure, B, C, and D, what are we doing with each one of those? I got lost in the conversation of which one's in, which one's out.
So right now for draft number 2, community reach ask, which was the $7,865 is in the draft number 2. The facilities position is in, communications was removed. Guest house for $5,000 is not in there, and nor is the curling club for $1,500. Did I miss any?
No, you didn't miss any, but just to clarify, so community reach, we did receive no direction from council, from committee on October 29th. So it's in there, but it should still get direction to remain or be removed. All 3 of those presentations earlier this evening should have a motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Should we take care of those now? Is that appropriate way to do it? Okay. So why don't I start with, I can put those motions on the floor then, right? So a motion that the Community Reach Links request for the town of Penetanguishene for $7,865 be approved.
Sorry, Madam Chair, you're just going to need to get a mover and a seconder. You won't be able to move it.
I can't move it. Sorry. Okay. Can I get a mover for that? Deputy Leroux, seconder? Councillor Leroux, questions or comments? Worship?
I'll just keep it succinct. I would see if our movers are going to be comfortable in keeping the same as last year and make the increase at 10%. If everyone else got 3, library and every other group, keep it at 3. Why make it 10? I think we're setting a bad precedent with this. Here we are tonight debating. Staff came up with a budget at X, and we're saying no. Staff would love a 10%. So I think if we're going to keep apples to apples, let's use a number that's fair, not just pulling 10.
Do I need that amount, or can I say that a 3% increase from last year is the motion that we could put on the floor? Okay, that we support a 3% increase. So moved by, sorry, I can do that? Sorry, still? I had read the first one, so. Okay, mover, Deputy Leroux, second. Oh, Your Worship. Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies, Councillor Leroux. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. The next one is the Guest House Shelter, requesting $5,000 from the town of Penetanguishene. So looking to put that on the floor. Is there a mover? Councillor DeRush, seconder. Councillor Leroux, comments or questions?
Council, I said this last time, I'll say it again this time. I hope we defeat this. I think it's in everyone's best interest not to fund this. There is an agreement between the County of Simcoe and the Guest House. I did talk to the general manager of the County of Simcoe at our last council meeting, and they're more than willing to come and do an education session with council and inform them about all the funding tools available, the supports, and how opportunities like this can actually sidestep the relationship. So I'd be happy to push that out to the CEO and see about arranging that at a future meeting. But I think the best thing we can do is support the county with their relationship with their contracted providers. Us doing this, I think, gets to be slippery. I will not support this.
Councillor DeRush, go ahead, and then Deputy Leroux.
Thank you very much. For me, this is about the town of Penetanguishene doing a little bit of a part in homelessness, because we do not have anything that's anywhere that speaks to homelessness, and we do have it here in Penetanguishene. We have some of our residents in Midland who are there also. And to say that the county provides them with money, well, they don't provide them with enough money, sorry. And it's just like the ministry not giving us enough money for the heads and beds, and them not giving us enough for what we feel is a just amount that we are due. And if, we're going to fight to try to sensitize the province that they're not giving us enough money for our services, for what we provide to Waypoint and for CNCC. But again, they provide monies just like the county provides to the guest house. It's not enough. And maybe if municipalities can provide a little bit of pressure to the county, they might be able to provide a little more. But for me, this is about the town of Penetanguishene showing a bit of compassion and doing what it can to give something to homelessness and to a crisis that is definitely something that we all need to own. We all need to own this. And it is very much like our hospital and like our, hospice and all of those centers that are for community at large. This is one of them. And I feel that because of the stigma attached to it, that people shy away and they're just forgotten. So that's why we'll be supporting this. Thank you.
Deputy Leroux, you had a comment, question?
No, just quick comment. We did talk to the people involved at the county that are in charge of this program. They indicated to us that it would not be a good thing for us to support it. It's something that's already out of our county money that the town gives to the county. It's their responsibility. They have a way of looking at all of the centers put together. They have a very direct set of rules which they need to follow, and they indicated to us that it would not be a good thing for us to do. The other last little comment, and I don't know if it's true or not true, just scuttlebutt says, I don't believe our neighbors are supporting it either.
Thank you. Any other? I do have a question. Have we I don't remember. Did we support them in last year's budget? Was there an ask made last year? Do we know?
Through you, Madam Chair, no, there's never been a operating budget request from the guest house. We did years ago lend them money along with other municipalities, but they repaid it to us. Council at the time approved an interest-free loan. Some municipalities waived it, but because they were having trouble meeting the repayment terms, some municipalities waived it, but ours was a $25,000 loan, interest-free, and it was repaid over 5 years.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? We have a mover and a seconder, so we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is defeated. Thank you. The next motion was the request from the Curling Club for the town of Penetanguishene to support the U18 Curling Bonspiel banquet for $1,500. Can I get a mover? Councillor Bedevancourt, seconder? Your worship. Any questions or comments about this one? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. So we've addressed the three. Okay. All right. I'm getting nods. I'm doing all the right stuff here. Excellent. With that, Carrie, I know I'm putting you on the spot with regards to the total budget tax impact for the second draft, if you have that. Any other questions? Anyone? Okay, sorry, while you're doing that. Sorry, and I didn't say that, my apologies. Any questions or comments with regards to the report that's in front of you? Go ahead, Your Worship.
I have about 8 items, so I'll start with 2 or 3 and then we'll see if my colleagues have a few. My first one I'm going to direct to our CEO if he doesn't mind. I'm reading the capital plan regarding council chambers, and I just want a little bit of clarity. It says $75,000 for, I'll call it just clean up and spruce up of council chamber. I just wonder what the scope of that project is, just for clarity if I can.
Through Madam Chair, the Director of Legislative Services is going to touch on this. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mayor Rawson. So currently there is $45,000 in the budget for council chambers or enhancements or a refresh. And staff were requesting an additional $45,000 in the capital budget for 2027 and for additional enhancements to council chambers. And the $45,000 that is currently in the budget was to replace the carpeting in chambers as it was identified as a hazard from the health and safety committee in terms of the tripping, and there's some pilling and whatnot. And so being that that was going to be done, was going to be done currently in 2025, staff wanted to explore an option to look at different aspects in council chambers that also needed some enhancements in terms of tables, chairs, and the possibility of exploring options for seating in terms of council as the size of council has changed from 7 into 5. And so can the space be better used with the smaller size of the dais, for instance. So staff wanted to take the opportunity to explore all options if such a big project such as the carpeting and the flooring were going to be removed, that was the opportunity. So that's the reasoning and rationale surrounding the 2027 capital request.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I don't see that in the justification report. So the justification report to me says the carpet is scheduled to be replaced for safety reasons. However, many of the staff tables within both rooms are broken, requiring updating. Most of the chairs are stained, the walls are marked, blah, blah, blah. I don't read anything about the dais as an example. I'm having a hard time with this one, the cost with this one. And this is a priority when, from my view, I don't know if it's a priority. I'm just having a hard time understanding this one.
Go ahead. Through you, Madam Chair, to Mayor Rawson. That is understandable in terms of staff's perspective. It was since the flooring was going to be explored, staff wanted to explore all options, and that also meant that this space could potentially be utilized for other purposes. Staff utilize the space currently for all staff meetings, for example, and we have up to 50 staff that are in here at a time. And so how to better utilize the space for different purposes, not just a council meeting per se. I know that there is also heads of council that we sometimes host in this space. So different meetings such as that, and as we continue to grow, to explore those options if we're going to be doing such a big project such as replacing the flooring in here. So that's the rationale.
I don't know about council colleagues, but I still have a problem with this one. I appreciate what Madam Clerk's sharing, but this is our space to make governance and policy decisions for the community. This is our only space to do that work. I appreciate staff's doing this research, but I don't know about you. I've never been consulted on this. There's nothing in our justification report that talks to this. And now we're learning that that's the scope and scale. And I don't know if the scope and scale of an additional $45,000 to take out this to do what Madam Clerk said is our priority. I got a real problem with it personally. Madam Chair, I don't know how you want to proceed, but from the capital plan, I'd like to leave it. I don't know how much work staff's done yet, but I'd like to leave it with the carpet, the tables, the chairs. Like what's in the justification report? I think the enhancements amounts that I heard about, I'd like to remove that. But I'm only going by what I see and what I've written and what I hear. I don't know how you would like to move forward with that. And then I got a few more we'll go through.
Would we need a motion to reduce the amount? Because it's... Go ahead, Carrie.
Through you, Madam Chair, I believe, and I'll ask the Director of Legislative Services to correct me if I'm wrong, the original description of the project in the capital justification, I think what related to $45,000, which we do have as a carry forward project from 2025 to 2026 that would accommodate that. So to remove the additional scope of the project would be a motion to remove the $45,000 in the 2027 capital budget.
I'll move that.
And I'll just ask the Director of Legislative Services to confirm that.
Go ahead. Thank you. So That being said, the scope of the project that is currently in the budget, the 45,000 includes the painting and the flooring replacement in chambers. So if council decides to remain with that scope, then that's the $45,000 that was earmarked for that. The 2027 request was for the tables and chairs, extra tables and chairs replacement and whatnot. If council wants to go with, wants to direct staff to not explore other options and just replace the tables and chairs, we'd still need the extra money, the extra 45,000 for the tables and chairs that would be in this space. So I hope that provides some clarity.
I'm still good to move the removal of the 45, and then through the project planning, I'm suggesting we can make it fit in the 45.
The motion's on the floor. Do you have a seconder? Deputy LaRose? Any other comments or question? Deputy LaRose?
Just one quick comment. When I look at our desk that we use here, I don't see anything wrong with it. It's not beat up. You look at any of the photographs that are taken, it always looks clean and neat. To tear all this out and haul it away, spend another $50,000, $60,000 to replace it just for the sake of replacing it is not a good use of money. 75,000, that's another 45 houses gone.
Thank you, Deputy LaRose. Any other members of council have comments on this? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for the vote, the motion that's on the floor. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? I'm sorry, I wasn't sure what you did, Councillor Waters. 4? Okay, thank you. That motion was defeated. Or no, yeah, it was carried. My apologies. The motion was carried. Your Worship, you had another question?
Yeah, fire master plan. I appreciate and hear, and the CEO mentioned about it earlier. I just want to make a couple comments. The fire master plan is not legislated. We currently have a fire master plan. More than 50% of it, we didn't do anything about it. We have just doubled the compensation from a 0.5 to 1.0 for fire chief. We've also, through staff recommendation, said, here's extra amount of money because staff said they needed help to recruit a star. So we said, okay. So we've doubled the staffing complement to do that. When I look at that master plan, if you read that master plan, I don't think there's a lot of this, what's the word we heard tonight, like strategic thinking and third-party consultant providing us the best practices. Like, if you read it, it's not really complex stuff. We just paid a bunch of money for a group to do our amalgamated plan with Midland, and I was hugely disappointed with the work that that group did for us, hugely disappointed. And they're doing master plans all the time. So here's my thinking. When our new fire chief comes, however long they need to, dust off the old master plan and update it. It's a strategic document. If we're hiring a new fire chief and they don't have the capacity or the ability to update that document, then there's a problem. So why don't we say your first job when you get here is update your strategic plan, which is your master plan. If they can't do that in the next 6 to 9 months, then next year's capital plan, they can bring it forward, say, no, here's the reasons we need to do it. But I would suggest today, we have demonstration that we're not using the document. So why are we adding it to this year's capital plan? So I'm going to move that we remove the funding for the fire master plan in the 2026 capital plan.
A seconder to that motion? Deputy LaRose? Comments, questions at this point? Councillor DeRush?
Yes, and I am on the other side of the fence here. I feel strongly about keeping this master plan within our budget. And the fact that that 60% of the master plan was not done, the previous master plan, is not a justification. I don't think it is for moving forward to get one done, but it does motivate me to make sure that the master plan is completed. And that when it is given to us, that it is, it's not a shelf document, but it's an actual let's get her done kind of document. And I feel that we've been through, I don't know if they were difficult times, but we've been through times in the last 10 years. And I think we need a tool to recenter and to redirect what we want to see as a fire master plan. And I feel that master plans are Bibles for departments. I know I've been involved with Recreation Master Plan, and it became our Bible. And we had, 50 bullets, and you chipped away at it, and you got it done. And that kept you focused, and it keeps you motivated, and it keeps you on target, and it makes sure that you don't get out of your scope. So I feel strongly that we need to do this, and that it will give us a fresh perspective as to where we want to be in the future with our fire department. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Drush. Deputy LaRose, did you have you raise your hand before? No. Okay. Any other members? Councillor Bedevancourt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think there's validity in doing a fire master plan for the reasons outlined by Councillor DeRush, but I also feel that with the new fire chief recruitment process just starting and hiring a new fire chief, that individual is going to need some time to assess for himself or herself the fire department, look at that 2014 plan, look at what's remaining, just kind of get a lay of the land, and then look to develop what he thinks or she thinks should be the priorities for the fire department going forward. It may include a fire master plan, it may not include a fire master plan, but from my perspective, I think we should give the new chief the opportunity to review the department through their lens and make a determination on what they feel is most appropriate. The motion, I believe, is to delete it from the capital forecast. I'd like to see it remain, but in a later year, like in maybe 2027, so that 2026 is the opportunity for the fire chief to analyze, assess, and then come forward with a scope and whatnot, and then we can look to deal with it in 2027. Thank you.
So the current motion on the table that has a mover and seconder is to remove it completely. Are you putting another motion on the floor?
No, if that motion is on the floor, then we'll deal with that.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to speak to the importance. I think Councillor Drush mentioned the importance of this master plan as a strategic document. I don't disagree. I agree on the importance and this document, how important this document is. It's a strategic document to move forward, but I don't think we need to pay a third party $50,000 to create a document. For example, line 18 on the agreement right now says, it is recommended that the deputy chief ensure the provisions of Ontario Regulation 365.13 are carried out annually. Okay. It is recommended the number of inspections be increased with the goal of meeting the recommended frequency set out in the guidelines. Okay. Like, I'm pretty sure our new chief can do this. This is a rinse and repeat process. I don't know why we need to pay a consultant $50,000 to write a report that we didn't look at.
Any other comments, Councillor LaRue?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I tend to agree with his worship. I think that we could remove it, and that perhaps when a full-time fire chief is hired, that he be mandated to update or not the new fire plan. And if he feels, the new fire chief feels that it's not something that can be completed by himself, then he can put it forward for 2027.
I think it's an important document for us to have. I think the fact that there was a lot of items not completed was, years of a shared fire chief and not having sufficient resources. I think a fire plan, the master plan is critical. One of the things I remember when Chief Renaud did some orientation is there's so many changes happening under the Fire Act just training alone and all the other pieces, this is not something, we just need one incident and we find ourselves in a potential lawsuit because we haven't followed the various legislations and acts that are required and mandated in this province. And so I think it's important. I don't disagree. It would be wise to have the input of the new fire chief. So I'm not going to support that we remove it completely, but that is the motions on the floor. So we will call for the vote. So we have a mover and seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Your worship, you had another comment or question?
Yeah, I'll move the Charles Scott one as well. I'm going to move that we remove it from the capital plan. And I do agree with the staff report says do some consultation. I agree with Councillor Rush about the rec master plan. We can complete that process and come back to the capital assessment for 27. But I'm going to remove it from 26.
Do you have a seconder for that motion? Second by Councillor Waters. Any other comments or questions before? Councillor Duresh?
I have one question, and I think I know the answer, and this is directed to the Director of Recreation. Should we scrap this from our budget, then we would have to report to the grant people that we no longer qualify for that grant. Is that correct?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Duresh. We could either wait for the outcome and then report back. If we were successful, then report back and say that we won't be utilizing the funds. Or we could proactively reach out and say, please withdraw our application.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? So the motion on the floor is to remove the Charles Scott project from the master plan. We have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is defeated. Oh, I'm losing track here. That motion is defeated. Thank you. Sorry. Any other comments or questions with regards to the budget? Okay. Councillor Bedevancourt, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question to the Treasurer with respect to the taxation contribution to the capital. When I look at each of the years, it seems to me that that we are at 1,350,000, and that's kind of static all the way through the plan. Is there a reason for that? I understand it all has to fit, but from a and what's the term I'm looking for? Maybe I'll just explain it. From an inflation standpoint, we're actually reducing the amount we're able to purchase from a capital perspective because inflation eats away at that 1,350,000. We're not increasing that 1,350,000. And I'm just wondering, is there a point in time where we start to increase it? Because I didn't see it in the forecast, and I just want to understand the rationale, because I think maybe we're slipping behind because of the impacts of inflation.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Bedevancourt. Thank you for the question. I wouldn't say that we're slipping behind. I would say that we are investing more funds into the reserves for financial planning of our capital projects. So although we might still be spending 1.35 million in taxation per year, we would be drawing on those reserves as well to complete capital projects, because that's why we've put $14 million into them over the next, into the 10-year capital plan. I would love to see the capital-based budget of 1.35 million increase annually. As you mentioned, costs are going up. But if, as I mentioned on attachment 4 and the 14 million capital asset financial planning of 14 million over the next 10 years, there's competing priorities, and certainly one of those priorities is putting money away for the multi-use recreation centers. So any available monies to balance our capital budget have gone there, have gone to that priority, the multi-use recreation center. It's not to say that we're getting behind in terms of the inflation and cost of capital projects in the future. We're just planning for them and drawing from different sources of capital funding to pay for those projects.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
It's just then, and I think you've answered the question already, that with the contribution to the reserve for the MERC, it fluctuates based on the amount of money that might be available after the capital planning is done. If I understand, that's why it goes up and down as opposed to a trajectory of going up and up and up over several years.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Vetabancourt. Originally, we did put a placeholder in, and if you'll recall, and you might still see it in that fluctuating reserve transfer, but we put $75,000 a year into that transfer. Every year there's capital projects that need to be done now and need funding now, and sometimes there would be zero in the transfer to reserve. But certainly as we get closer and Council's commitment to the next steps for the MERC, this capital plan does focus on that reserve transfer as a priority. And that's why you'll see whenever there was taxation available, it went there. And some years you might still see that 75,000.
Or less. One year there, it kind of dips, but then the following year, it goes way up. So
I always try to make up for years that I have to use it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Your Worship, go ahead. You have another question?
Thank you. I'm looking at this engineering technician role. So it's 79 and change, let's call it 80,000. I'm still surprised is the word on the recapture of the $15,000. So there's an increased cost to municipality of about $65,000 a year if I factor in that recapture rate. And I get that there's other things going on, but what will we miss if we don't bring this role on today? I know, the report, Brian said there's a million things on the go and it's going to help out those other million things, but I led to believe that this is really going to help the developments. Well, right now, if we send it to the engineering firms that do it, it's cost recovery. It's not costing our tax base anything. I'm having a really hard time with this one to understand. If this position was removed from this draft version today, what balls drop? How does service levels drop?
Through you, Madam Chair, to His Worship, if the position weren't to be approved as part of the budget, again, the position would be affecting the development review side of things. So we do have development reviews both on the design aspect. So once a submission is put forward to the municipality, we have staff time in review of those submissions as part of the engineering works. All the way through to the assumption or the approval of those works as they go to construction. So there's a lot of staff time utilized by myself, manager of capital projects, the asset management technician or coordinator. So a lot of that work is kind of spread out between those 4 positions right now. A lot of our lead times are increasing just due to the amount of submissions that we're getting. Again, to the Deputy Mayor's point, there's not a whole lot of construction going on right now, but there's a lot of submissions going forward in preparation for what could be a busy construction season over the next 5 to 10 years for the municipality. So a lot of our time is spent going through with the builder, their engineering consultant. A lot of that work can't be farmed out to an engineering firm. It needs to be done in-house so that we can make sure that our standards are being adhered to. That's the development side of things. From a capital perspective, our capital programs are only getting bigger, more complicated by the year. It's not only our works, it's also works in other departments. So I can see the engineering technician also assisting getting procurement side of thing, the procurement aspect of capital programs underway, not only for our department, but also helping other departments getting their capital works going. We do a lot with the staffing we have, but we could do more and get a lot more of our capital program completed on a yearly basis. I think right now we're kind of running at about 20 to 25% of our budget dollars that are rolling over every year just because of lack of resources. We see that this position could help us with that, not only within public works, but in other departments, in getting those capital programs executed every year. There are also other regulatory requirements that are being thrust upon us by the provincial government, which is the ICI CLI. So it's the Coordinated Linear Infrastructure approvals. That was downloaded to the municipality from the provincial government. It's a good thing, but it requires a lot of staff time and reporting. So right now we have our environmental compliance approvals for our water, sanitary, and storm infrastructure. We've had our water ECAs for a while now. They've just downloaded storm and sanitary to the municipalities. There's some reporting requirements associated with that. So there's a lot more regulatory burden being put on the administration side of things. So we see that this position helps us with that, getting our inspections completed for our stormwater management ponds. A lot of that is kind of being spread out across our admin staff. So the asset management technician and our manager of capital projects. So we see this position as being an added requirement for our staffing complement to not only handle our public works administration burden, but also our capital and development related burden.
Thanks, Brian. A follow-up if I can. So I hear busy. That's what I heard you say. A lot of busyness going on. So I guess from a clarity standpoint, is there risk to us, regulatory or otherwise? Is there balls dropping right now that something bad will happen if not? Or is it just busyness? Question one. And question two is the $15,000 that we can recapture. Is that like a really low, or you think we can work on that? And do we think there's room to grow that, or that's as much as we're really going to ever get?
To address your first component, again, from a regulatory perspective, I see the biggest need as part of that ICI, CLI, ECAs for our storm and sanitary sewers. Our water staff completes the regulatory component for the water side of things. But for the sanitary collection system, the storm collection system, a lot of the inspections that we're being required to do take a lot of time to process. A lot of those requirements are being phased in over a course of time because the province knows that these are onerous requirements. So I can see a regulatory aspect of things being a risk to us going forward for that in terms of not meeting our reporting requirements. As part of the second component to that, the second part of your question, the estimate in terms of the recoverable component was, I think, is conservative. But again, again, without actually going through a a cycle with it. It would go up and down over the years, but I think the estimate we provided is accurate.
Okay. Can I please make a request that we take just a 5-minute bio break and then we can come back and stick to 5 minutes, no chit chatting, please? Okay, we're taking 5 minutes, okay? Thank you again, Director Murray, for providing some context on that position and clarity. Is there any other members of the leadership team that want to have anything to add with that position that would add value to their departments that is wanting to? Okay, go ahead, Sherry.
Thank you for the opportunity. Recreation and Community Services is relying more and more, especially with aging infrastructure, for engineering support. So when I look at something like the wharf, it's a fairly complex engineered structure, and it's not. We're needing more and more reviews of it, and ongoing assessment, and increased frequency, and engagement and support from engineering for that kind of thing. So it is getting busier, but because the infrastructure is aging, it's not going to become less busy until we replace some of these things. So that's just one example, but certainly RCS could benefit from additional engineering support and services.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Marchand. I agree with the statements from Director Desjardins. The assistance that we receive from the engineering department around construction and development is part of our customer service that we do. We feel we do deliver good service around that. And the development, we've had some slow years in construction, but the development over the past 10 years in my length of time here has been substantial for the town, and it does take a number of years for it to fully build out. So what we're actually seeing is those now taxpayers who are now paying, are waiting for some of this development to close up. And so we see the value in this position for both the developer, but also the future or the new taxpayers in town for this role. So we fully support it.
Thank you very much. Any other items? Your Worship, you had another one?
Thank you. Our Madam Treasurer, you just were commenting to Councillor Vetabanker about balancing capital needs. I think was the words you used. And you talked about the increased pressures with things like the MERC. And I think Councillor Vetabanker asked you, do we need to do more? And you said, I'd love that. I know it's harder to say than do, but I'm just wondering, you know, and I'm not saying we decide this tonight, but we need to give this a longer range forecast. Do we need to push the MERC out a couple of years? Do we need to, you know, Councillor Vetabanker brought forward a 1% for this year's capital. Like, I'm sure there's thinking going on here, but I'm just wondering if you got some more comments on how we tackle this balancing capital needs. Because I know we're a shortfall, but you know, tonight we said a little bit about nice to have and want to have and these things, but honestly, I'm comfortable pushing the MERC out 3-4 years if we can't get a fire truck. As it is, we're pushing out a truck by 5 years by using these recertification rules. But I think these, I want to make sure that we're balancing these capital needs. I'm just wondering if you got a little bit of guidance on that.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mayor Rawson. As we speak, the town's long-term financial plan is in progress. They are looking at the MERC as part of that plan that they're working on for us. Sorry, I was going to comment on the MERC itself. It does, obviously it does impact now that it's in our 10-year capital plan. It does impact everything else that we're trying to do in terms of major capital projects requiring a lot of our capital taxation. In terms of the money that we're putting into reserves, et cetera. So I think once we get through this annual budget process, our long-term strategic financial plan will be presented in the spring. And that document will guide council and staff through the next budget cycle and the next, obviously, 10-year capital plan to see what exactly and then how exactly that MRC is going to impact all of the other competing capital priorities and the funding circumstances that it takes to accomplish all of council's projects that they want to complete. So.
Thank you. Another follow-up. I know we made a couple adjustments tonight. I'm wondering if you have right now an idea where we're sitting on an operating capital basis. How are we looking from a percentile basis? So that's question one. Question two is, I'm always mindful of, this impact to community. So for example, I know in this draft, we have 11% for OPP. And I know that was based on, province saying it's going to be capped at 11. It could come in at 4, it could come in at 9, could come in at 11. I know we don't know, we haven't received that yet. So there's still some adjustments, but I'm just wondering, where do we sit today? And then what are some other levers that we can pull to decrease this impact to our community? I know in the past, we've used the tax stabilization reserve and others, but what opportunities do we have that we can lessen the impact to people? And I see the impact that you put in the report based on $100,000, it's still going to have an impact to people by all means, but what other opportunities are before us that you could suggest that this council can evaluate?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mayor Rawson. In terms of the operating changes that were made today, we're sitting at approximately $645,000 year-over-year increase. The percentages, the tax impact percentages that I previously mentioned remain the same currently at 4.57% for the municipality, and the overall tax bill impact is at 3.94%, which is $64.30 overall for 100,000 of CVA. To further tools to further reduce that the taxation impact on our residents, we do have the tax stabilization reserve. We do which currently contains approximately $325,000. We do have policing a policing reserve that we could use. With that 11% cap that I used for the policing estimate, currently there's a 0.4% tax impact, about $58,000. We could use the police. I would recommend that we use the policing reserve to zero out that tax impact by 0.4%. We will have funds in the reserve to maybe stabilize it a little bit every year, or at least until maybe these increases, the trend of the policing cost increases levels. But we could reduce the 4.57% and zero out the policing by 0.4. If council wishes to reduce 1%, then I would suggest that the other 0.6% we use the tax stabilization reserve. That's what it was created for. So we haven't used it often in the past, but certainly when we have growth that comes in higher than our budget, that's where we put the money away in the tax stabilization reserve to offset future years where things happened and we want to approve a more reasonable or acceptable level of taxation and its impact on the tax bill. So those are two tools that I think if council wishes to utilize, I could let you know what a 1% change would currently be.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this has been a good exercise. You said it a few minutes ago, Madam Chair, like we've had some good dialogue and good debate, and I think it's been fair and respectful. I think staff's done a tremendous job bringing forward. Not that we all agree to everything, but I think they did a great job bringing the report forward in the budget process. I appreciate this process where we're at. I think we're almost ready across the finish line, my humble opinion. I would personally, I'm having a little bit of a difficulty with the 4.57, but I'm not saying there's more cutting to do. I think now is the time that we reach into reserves. Council, we asked staff to bring us a budget this year and don't come and use reserves to present us something that's something. We said just bring it to us. We'll do something if we want to use reserve. I think we're there. I personally would be comfortable, and I would say to you, Madam Treasurer, wherever you feel is most appropriate, but if you can reduce that by 1% with reserves, 0.4 or 0.6, however you do that, I personally would be ready to ratify that at our next council meeting. But Madam Chair, I'd put that on the floor as a discussion, see what our colleagues feel, but that's where I'm at.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I think you raise a good point. And thank you, Carrie, for clarifying around what's available in the police reserve and some of the recommendations that you're making. And I would like to see it reduced as well. Sorry, who are you pointing at? Carrie? Sorry, go ahead, Carrie.
Through you, Madam Chair, if I could just clarify one other thing as well. I forgot to mention the changes that I heard that are going to take place in the capital plan in draft number 2. I plan on making those changes, and if any taxation becomes available, I would do what I mentioned previously, is I would just increase the transfer to the MERC reserve. I wouldn't recommend reducing the capital-based taxation budget to reduce the, to move it over into operating to reduce the tax rate that way. If that's the direction, that's okay with council, that's the way I'll proceed with the final draft. But I can certainly tell you what a 1% impact would look like right now.
Just a comment if I can, and whatever you feel carries best, I'll support, but my brain goes to, tonight we reduced the fire master plan. I would say put it towards a fire truck. If we did RCS about some of it, I'd say keep it there. Like, that's just where I'm at, because we're gonna have to do it anyways, and I think we've done some big MERC costs, but whatever's easiest on your end, but that's just where my thinking is.
Yeah, go ahead, Carrie. Thank you.
My final report on December 10th will outline these changes that I've heard this evening and where we're at. And if council's direction is also to use the policing and tax stabilization reserve to the tune of 1% or a combination of 1%, we would be looking at a municipal tax impact of about 3.56 and an overall tax bill impact of 3.22, or $52.54 per 100,000 of current value assessment. But again, I'll bring those numbers back in the final draft on December 10th.
Thank you. Do I need to give any further direction about using reserve? We want a motion on the floor? Okay.
I would just say like combine that or something.
Okay, so the motion that we direct back to staff to look at a 1% reduction by using the appropriate reserve funds. Is that worded off the text? Through you, Madam Chair.
It's the tax stabilization funds.
Thank you. It's tax stabilization funds and potentially the OPP reserve funds, policing reserve funds. I've put that on the floor. Okay, moved by Your Worship. A seconder, Councillor Waters. Any other comments or questions? We'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. For clarity, do I have to the 2026 budget still, right? That's just the last one that we've been chatting about. I don't even think I put a mover. Yeah, Deputy LaRose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one quick question. I know it's late. If we could be provided with the annual tax rates compared to our 16 people in the county. We usually have a little listing goes of each of the municipalities to see where we rate. I think we get a year. Well, I want to see where we are now before we go. Generally, we were the highest, and then we've moved up to being not
15.
Yeah, we were 15, so I just want to make sure we're still going to be competitive in that zone.
I don't know if it's premature to ask for that because other councils and municipalities, I'm assuming, are in the middle of their budgets. Yeah, go ahead, Carrie.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Deputy Mayor LaRose. Final tax rates aren't final and published for us to access until all the county and all of the lower tier municipalities input it. And the deadline is like May or June, right before our final tax bill goes out in July, but we won't know. But I definitely check every year.
Yeah.
Okay, are we, sorry, Councillor Bedevancourt, another comment before we put this motion and put things to.
Thank you. Just another quick question, just with respect to the policing costs, when do we anticipate getting our reconciliation for policing?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Bedevancourt, we did receive a letter outlining that after they had a consultation with stakeholders, they were looking at the billing estimate model. We won't be receiving our policing bill estimate until, I believe they said, the end of November. So it could be soon, but we haven't received anything yet.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, so the motion we're putting forward that the 2026 draft budget number 2 report and related budget documents be received for discussion and that staff amend the budget as directed and presented at the final draft at the council meeting on December 10th, 2025. Can I get a mover? Councillor Leroux, seconder. Councillor Darash, all those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Questions from anybody? Okay, back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Great job. We're looking for motion to adjourn at 10:05 p.m. It's moved by Councillor Waters, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you, Carrie and team.